Welcome to Caesar's podcast. This is a collection of human conversations. So, para entender my own life, to understand my own life, through the history of my guests, my dear friends. So, today is a really special episode. So, my guest is someone I met as a student, but he taught me more than most teachers have. He was a dean in Ethiopia before he was a PhD candidate here in China. He won prizes. He tutored me in econometrics, in macroeconomics, and then one day he left academia. So quietly, that was without drama, and he started to build his own thing. So today we talk about knowledge, power, education, and what a person is supposed to do when the systems they were trained in don't quite work the way they promise, like education. So this is a conversation for those of us who believe in education and are still trying to figure out what to do with that belief. So welcome, Professor Biruk.
Thank you, Cesar, for
Thanks for
having me.
thanks for accept that this invitation. So
It's all my pleasure.
let's start with something brief and deep. If a stranger asks you not what you do, not where you are from, but who you actually are, what would you say?
I'm a person who believes in God. That is the only unique thing that makes me different from other people.
Okay.
Because everything that shaped me, everything that uh, lead me, aspire me, give me hope is not something related to what we see on our daily basis. All my aspirations are coming from God. I'm a Christian. So, for your question, I would say, hey, this is Brooke. I'm a Christian. That would be my answer. Then finding out the rest would be the person who asked me the question.
Okay. Take me where you grew up. What did you see around you? What was the texture of life?
I was born in Asab. Do you know Asab? Asab is part of Eritrea.
Okay.
And when Eritrea and Ethiopia came to fight in 1991, we just flew to Ethiopia, and I grew up in Ethiopia. My dad and mom are Ethiopian. Then it is some kind of a migration at my childhood. We migrate from Eritrea to Ethiopia. Then my childhood was spent in Ethiopia.
So it was kind of a chaos migration or just peaceful?
Since we have been so too small at that age, we might not observe the real pressure that put on our families. But when we heard, in fact, there is no easy migration. Migration is always difficult.
Yeah.
So I just raised in Ethiopia, in a city. Most of my time in a city called Walkite. We are five in our family. I am the second. Um, I used to focus on education. I used to read and joined the university. I did my bachelor's, master's, and I just spent in the middle. By the way, I spent some years on work. So after I finished my bachelor, I did not go straight to masters. I spent 4 years on public service. Then I joined my masters. Then after my masters, I joined the academia. I worked 4 years. Then I started PhD. This is how I came to this point.
When did you first understand that education was going to be your path? Or when was some point that you say, okay, this is what I like, or this is important? I remember always
Okay.
my mom was saying, going to school is the most important thing in your life. School is the most important thing you gotta do. What was in your
I
case?
had a very interesting story in that aspect. Look, after we migrated to Ethiopia, my dad and mom need to figure out their career. So my dad earlier he was a machinist at the Ethiopian refinery company in Eritrea, but once he migrated to Ethiopia, he became a businessman. And my mom managed to get the government uh, public service employment. So my family is a blend of my dad is a businessman, my mom is a public servant. So when we grow up, I saw that my dad is making business, my mom is focusing on education. So she was very strict to push us to study, to do the homework. Our playtime outside was very limited, and I had the opportunity back then to go with the business direction. Unfortunately, my dad passed away, so all her all her opinions remain governing that house. You know, so she used to say, study, do this, do this. Then I just decided I have no other options than education. It is not her. It's not the push coming from her. It is because we quit business because my dad is passed.
Okay.
So I just decided that education would be my only option. And not only that, I just decided science is not my option. Science means chemistry, physics, biology, something. I just stopped studying while there is a comprehensive exam in the next year.
How old you were when you dad passed away?
I was grade 8 student, which is probably 12 years.
Okay. Then
When
you make that decision.
that's it. That is how I just end up in focusing education, and the rest is history.
All right. You were a dean before to come here to China and doing the PhD. How that unusual order felt on you, like, to make the flip from being the professor and now to be a student?
To be honest, when I came here as a student and start navigating the process, I feel like the whole world was working against me in my previous life because those deanship managerial position has their own burden responsibilities, right? So you are in charge of the whole college department, every academic planning, every day-to-day curricular activities, the college progress, something. This is on top of your research and teaching obligation. That makes someone a little bit crazy, and I can say it is not an easy thing. So when I come to Sufi as a student, all that burden has not been there. So the environment in my ear was somehow very quiet. There is no one who is calling saying that there is this report not submitted, there is this plan not organized, there is this student was not sent to practical education, something like that. Everything was quiet. I think that makes me very comfortable. So I can say there is no practically people might feel like, okay, this guy has been a dean, and when he became a student he might feel like there is a position change, something like that. But practically it was not like that.
Some people argue that human being likes the power. So when you're not in that position, it requires humility to go through. So that's why I did my question, like how that did it felt for you? Because for me also it was kind of strange. Like I was a professor before, and now to be sitting down in the class, listening. So you see the world in a really whole different perspective, and it gives like a shock of humility. Like before, I had the power to impose the homework or whatever it is, and now I have to be under the rule of somebody, right? So it was quite a challenge. Let's say.
It depends on who you are or what your principles are. For some who always want to be the one, it could be a bit challenging because as a student, when you interact with your professors, the volume, the comments, the other aspects, it might challenge your ego, right? Your ego, but because you give yourself that you are better than the rest of the people. That's why you have been a dean or a manager or something, right? But that's why I said it depends on the person. I personally don't perceive that even if when I was a dean, even if when I was a manager after my bachelor, I never thought about I am someone different than the rest of the people. I usually spend even my time working with them, trying to figure out. Sometimes I just give a task and I do the task with them. The only thing I feel like I have a responsibility is that my office is a bit different. It is isolated office. Apart from that, uh, it depends who you are or how
Yeah,
you perceive the world.
yeah, but but the problem in the system is there are many different kind of teachers. Like maybe you had same teachers as you do, but there were also another teachers who didn't do the work properly. Like in my case, maybe I have so many bad examples than better examples as teachers before. So yeah, but what I mean is a really good story that grounded me, like teach the lesson or remind the lesson that what comes around comes back around, and life is like a roller coaster, right? So sometimes we are here, sometimes we are here. It's a good thing to ground, that ground me.
We're nothing special. Usually people think that we are special. Trust me, nobody is special. Nobody is special. And what we know is far away from what we don't know. So if you don't know things, the only option is that you have to be humble, be kind.
I always look at the stars and I see the universe and I know it's pretty immense.
Yeah,
So what we are,
yeah,
what we know,
yeah.
as much as we can read, but we know
That's it. That's it.
nothing.
That's it.
So let's come back to the Sufi. What was your first impression of the university?
I know Sufi before. My Sufi endeavor is not the rest of the student. I was admitted not in here in China. I was admitted in Tanzania. There was a moment during my deanship. I used to collaborate with different academic institutions, and I just wrote an email to Sufi Rhyme that we want to collaborate something. Then I had the first-hand connection before I just started applying for my PhD.
Okay.
So on that channel, Sufi organized a conference in Africa, in Tanzania, Dar es Salaam. Then through that channel, I just learned that there is a conference. Then I had a paper. Then I submitted my paper. My paper has been accepted for conference. Then I had to travel to Tanzania for presentation. So Sufi rhyme stuff need to come to Tanzania for that conference. So I met them there. Then I remember Miss Joan, if I am not mistaken, when I was in the airport to fly to Dar es Salaam from Addis, she just wrote a message. Okay, on the side of this conference, there is a PhD admission interview. If you are interested, please send us your credential and you can attend the interview. Then I sent her my credential, my master certificate, GPA, something, something. Then I did my conference presentation today. The other day, I just did my PhD admission interview. That is how I joined PhD. Then after I came here, it's completely different. The coursework is not something like we used to experience. It is so fast, it is so quick. You have to adjust to the new life here. The language is different. But the class starts on the first day of the first week, September 9, if I am not mistaken. I arrived in China on September 4th. Class started on the 9th. So you can imagine, you need to have a cell phone, you need to rent the house, you need to figure out WeChat, Alipay, uh, right? It is
Food.
food. You need to identify where is the halal house. You know that, right? So not only that, just class started immediately. Quiz comes in the next week. Okay, there was some courses had the quiz, so it's not as an easy transition. Uh, Not only for me, for all international students, I can
Yeah.
say. Uh, but at the end of the day, a lot of friends managed to adapt to the system, to the
Yeah.
pace. That's why I just told you earlier. You need to configure yourself to the environment immediately. Otherwise, listening your ego will not take you anywhere.
Yeah, that reminds my story. Like, it feels like something like you never really know yourself very well. Because at the beginning, I remember myself youth, always adventurer. So I thought China was gonna be easy, like another adventure, another opportunity to have fun, more friends and stuff. But when I came here, it was very
No,
tough.
no,
It was very, very tough.
yeah, no, no.
Very, very tough.
It's not like that.
Yeah, the journey was very tough, but it was wonderful at the end of the day. And
Especially the first years could not be easy for everybody.
yeah, I always remember you saying me that first year is a nightmare.
Yeah, first
And
year is a nightmare.
I always remember how can I get out of this nightmare.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, we're doing great. I'm doing great, and you did wonderful. That's another of my questions. You won some prizes here for research. What does it mean for you? It really means what everyone thinks it means, or what does it mean for you?
It means two things. As a student, the prize is a good thing, right? When you get rewarded for what you have done, that is something that is good. But at the same time, I also know that this prize is temporary. It is not a lifetime prize. It is temporary for what you have done during that T period of time. At T period of time, you did something exceptional. That's why the school recognize you, and that is temporary. So all my achievement, if you say achievement, graduation is achievement. It, all my achievement is not for the sake of prize. It was for the sake of meeting my work. I said in my PhD I should do n number of papers. I have this habit, by the way. I have this habit. I tell myself I do this thing, and usually people don't know this thing, and I just
You
try
mean your
to.
goals?
Yeah, I just tell myself that before I finish my PhD, I have to, for instance, publish n number of papers, and people usually do not know. So every day, my effort was toward this meeting that, not to write this thesis, because I know that once I just have this n number of papers, I can make it a thesis, right? So it is not usually the prize that usually aspire me. It is my work that usually aspire me. I just set the standard for myself usually.
That drives me to the other question. When did you know your PhD was done? Like, not academically, just personally.
What do you mean by it's not?
Your PhD journey or your research journey? When did you feel it was done?
Because at some point in time, I just came to realize that this thing will not gonna give me a pleasure. Have you ever experienced that?
I'm experiencing that
Yeah,
every day.
yeah. But the problem is you are in the middle of the road. You cannot do anything. You
Yeah, I need
cannot
to
return back.
finish.
You cannot return back.
Yeah, exactly.
And the only option you had is that the remaining distance is way shorter than how far you came, right? So at some point in time, I just feel that okay, this thing, I'm sure this thing at some point in time, I want to do my PhD, but once I just started a PhD, I experienced different challenge in the first year. In the second year, I just started to move a little bit up and up. I just came to realize that, okay, what people thought about PhD is achievable, and if it is achievable, it could not give me any kind of pleasure. That's why I just promised myself I need another energy in order to complete this journey. So I just tell myself, okay, Brooke, you need to do this number of tasks until the end of the fourth year PhD journey. That is the only thing that drives me to do things little by little every day. Not completing this. I think you also feel the
Yes,
same thing.
yes, it requires a lot of determination, discipline,
Discipline,
and some days it feels
consistent.
like I'm giving up. Sometimes it feels like, okay, I'm doing something. Some days it feels like I'm not doing nothing. Where am I going? But
Your mind never quit thinking. That is the thing.
yeah, yeah,
Your
yeah,
mind
yeah, yeah.
always working. That's why you feel exhaustion. Sometimes you feel like you are doing something, but practically you are not doing anything. You open your computer, you scroll up, down, up, down. Then you go for a lunch. When you ask yourself, what have I done in the morning? There is nothing. It's because your mind never stop working.
But he's thinking all the
It's
time, right?
thinking all the time. That makes people exhausted. That is why some people stop at some point in time and give up.
It's a tough journey, but I don't know how I'm tracked in the research. I gotta get the PhD somehow.
Yeah.
But
People has
sometimes I enjoy it, but sometimes really not.
sometimes it's too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's too much. But the my approach was I have to give myself something that inspire me to do a little work on daily basis. I think that makes me to push a lot of
Little
things.
work on daily basis. Yeah, I try. Sometimes it really feels like this is small, but I try to do
Yeah,
even this
a
small
little bit. Yeah.
every day. So you stay in China after graduating. A lot of people leave. Tell us, why did you stay?
I have a family here.
Okay.
I am married. I have a daughter. My wife is working here. My daughter went to school here. So I had to go back to Ethiopia and continue my academic career, just being as a professor there. But at some point in time in your life, you came to realize that uh, what is more important in your life? Is it the job, the monthly money that you make to survive, or is it the family? So I just prefer to stay with the family. So I just forgive my academic career back home, and still now I'm here.
This drives me to my other question. So you're a father. Before we get deep into anything, uh, tell me what kind of father are you trying to be?
I want to be a father that doesn't regret when your child grow up without getting your full attention. I don't want to be a father like that. The only regret that I want to avoid is that I don't want my daughters to grow up without having my full attention, without having my full energy, my focus, my love. You know, raising a kid is not an easy. It takes a village.
So how you manage your other activities? Let's be straight. How
It
many
is a
times?
fight, my friend. It's a fight. It's a war. You know, it's a fight.
You know, I open my eyes when you say that because it's my fight also.
Yeah, look, uh, my daughter was born when I was a third year PhD student. Third year means you have to work hard in order to the proposal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
At the third year, this is a new country, you don't know the language, you don't know how to raise a kid. My wife is working, she needs to return back to work. I have to stay at home taking care of her. The good thing is kids until they turn to 6 months, they are okay. You just feed them, they sleep. Right?
It's easy. It
So
looks like.
it looks like easy, but it's not easy still. So it was a fight. My friend, she wake up, I just feed her, I just tap her a little bit, she fall asleep, then I run to my computer, then do something. She wake up, you taking care of her. Then again she go to sleep, you run. And usually in the fourth year, I remember she turned into one in some 1 year and some months. The time they become crazy, they want to run here and there. You need to follow them. If you don't follow them, then at that moment they reduce their sleep hours. They used to sleep 2 times per day in the
Yeah, yeah,
daytime.
yeah.
Then they reduce to 1 time, right? So your option would be switching to midnight. I went to bed like 1, 2, and wake up at 6 because she wake up at 6. My wife need to work, so you don't need to put too much pressure on her. She need to be active in the work, so it's not easy. It was a fight,
So,
and
so,
I love that fight.
so now you are your own boss, right?
Sorry.
Now you are your own boss. You are your own boss.
Exactly.
So it's something like PhD student. Like I am my own boss. I can decide whenever I work, whenever I don't. So what's happening is like, how do I know how much time needs my kids? Like quality time. Because sometimes I know and it happens, it's not quality time. But I can give them maybe the whole day, maybe the whole weekend, or maybe nothing in 1 week, 2 weeks. How do I know I am giving the right amount of time?
It depends on people because
Like for you?
I saw how fathers are trying to embrace these fatherhood things while they are so busy. For me, my work schedule is a bit flexible. I'm not supposed to go to office on daily basis to sign or something. I work on my own pace.
Yeah, exactly.
So the more you give time to your kid, the more you have to deprive your sleep. That is the logic. You used to go to bed like 10 or 9 p.m. Earlier. Now, since you need to give time to your kids, since you need to walk sometimes 10,000 steps per day following them,
All right.
you need to forgive your sleep. That is how you need to navigate. The good thing is knowing which one is important is what matters most. Is my business important than her life? Is important. You do the business to provide for your family at the end of the day, right? So you have to compromise. You have to make things to go as smooth as possible to the extent that your kids do not miss you. Your kids are not supposed to miss you while you are in the house. That is my logic. When I'm in the house and when my kid is active, I'm active with her. It is very unlikely I open my computer when she is active, at the expense of my sleep. So when she sleeps, I go to my room, I just do what I am meant to. It affects you, seriously it affects you. Sometimes I need to respond on some message on my phone. She need she is here. You need to concentrate on how to respond, how to write a message. It affects, but it is worse. Life is not all about. That's what I said earlier. The way I perceive life is not the way on how much money I make per year per month. It is how much I execute my role as a father, as a head of the house. As a head of the house, you need to provide your family. As a father, you need to be a father. You need to balance all.
At the end of the time, time is money. 1 hour work, money for something, and 1 hour of quality time.
Yeah. But kids need attention. That is what I know. That is what I learned now. They need attention. The more you are not paying them attention, you can see. You can see that some aspect of their behavior is a little bit drifting from what you expect them to behave, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
There is no conventional way of raising a kid, by the way. A lot of people think that the fancy or the good way of raising a kid is when they went to bed, you read a book or a Bible. There is no fast and hard rule of raising a kid. Raising a kid is being like them. When they want to run, just run. When they want to be happy, just be happy. Right? That is how I try to.
You let her like get dirty everywhere,
That,
eat
that,
whatever she
that,
wants.
that's what I do. But at the same time, you need to structure. You need to give them a structure. You need to give them a structure. You need to tell them what is the most important thing in their life from this time. So that is what I said. If they miss this thing, this deep conversation at this early childhood, it is who we have been at our childhood, the way we perceive things that matters now. Right? If you see some people, it is their perspective back then that determines who they are now.
Hmm. Yeah, true, true. Let's go. Let's go a little bit deep into the education. So I read a book called *Sapiens*, a really good book. The author argues that universities just don't produce knowledge. They produce the right kind of knowledge for the right kind of people. What do you think about that?
The right kind of knowledge for the right kind of people.
Exactly.
Are you asking me the author's perspective or how I perceive the
Do you
education?
perceive is it like that? Something fixed?
The whole education, my perception about general perception about education is that the whole education industry, whether it is in the developed or developing countries, um, has lost its track because education is meant to be solving societal problem, right? Someone is said educated when he has the right knowledge, skill, and the competency to solve a given problem, at least in his surrounding.
Yeah.
But if you look at the whole education system and the kind of people graduated through this system, I can tell you that it is not even 50% of those graduates solve the real problem. The real problem that you see when you are walking. So if you go to Africa, there is poverty, but education is there. People are graduating every year after year.
So maybe the question more straight is like, do you think education is manipulated, pre-elaborated?
I couldn't agree more because education serves a given purpose. That is what I know. The education system in China serves the interest of Chinese, or at least the interest of the Chinese government. The same thing happened in Ecuador, Ethiopia, and other parts. So, at the end of the day, it is the interest of some institution that matters most than the true meaning of education. The true meaning of education, as I told you, is making a person a humble, innovative, and problem solving person who respects his environment, who has humility for other people. But just look at the curriculums. The curriculums are designed to meet the interest of some institutions. That institution could be a government or
That leads me to other question. You mentioned developing world. It's plagued by weak institutions and corruption everywhere. So let me tell you uh, this question. Like, you have been inside a university as a student, as a professor, as a dean. At which level did you see the most corruption? Not necessarily financial, but like structural.
it is at an institutional level. You cannot say at personal level because at personal level, whether you are a professor or a student, you execute your responsibility. A professor has his own curriculum given by the institution, then he just discharges his responsibilities. The same thing happens to the student. They go to classroom, attend class. This is not about that. The problem is at an institutional level. At an institutional level, when you measure the outcome is solely by, you know, we have this nice CGPA, cumulative GPA. A person who has CGPA of 3.7, 3.9 might not be as smart as a person who have a CGPA of 2.5. If you measure the outcome of education comprehensively, but the education system measures the performance of a student based on CGPA, cumulative GPA, right? Now the industry is looking for someone who has emotional intelligence. A person who scored 2.5 might have far better emotional intelligence than a person who scores 3.8, 3.7. That is where the disconnect happens. The institutions are not fabricating a student to the extent that meets the real business or industry demand. You need to be trained. You need to be trained again. For instance, in my journey, I just switched from academia to business. It took me so much time to understand how business people think, how they craft their idea, how they communicate in sales. To sell a product, you cannot sell a product by a course that you attend in digital e-commerce or sales communication or something. You need to live the moment. You need to understand what the industry is looking for. That, that is what I observe the disconnect. At the same time, I don't trust institutions. So I personally don't trust institutions.
Talking about institutions, colonization left some institutions in Africa and Latin America. So, what do you think? Like when colonial powers left Africa, they left behind the universities, right? So, do you think the systems are designed to serve those people, or even nowadays it's something like a continue of intellectual colonization?
You know, the drawback is the main challenge, the colonial legacy, main problem is that it makes you a blind person while you have an eye to see. A blind person means the French set a standard based on French culture,
Yeah.
and they want it to to be transplanted in Benin or other French colony countries.
Yeah.
French is ahead of Benin or Cameroon or other French colony countries. You cannot transplant the institutional building philosophy in these struggling countries who aspire to pull their people out of poverty. So the education system that is the outcome of the colonial legacy just embrace this. Whenever they teach their students, okay, try to do hard based on the standard set by the colonizer. Try to work hard, and if you want to pursue higher education, try to go there. Okay, try to. So everybody is aspiring to do this.
Yeah, so I agree with that. It is an intellectual colonization because we're
That is
following their standards.
it. That is it.
So, what do you think if the history was upside down and they were not the colonizers? What if the South, across South, some, let's say the standards are made from the African Aborigines? It would be a better education system, a better world.
I'm not against the scientific standard. I'm not against the scientific standard. I believe in research and development. At the same time, I also believe in indigenous knowledge, indigenous culture.
Okay.
Culture has its own constituent attributes. For instance, the old people for instance, in Latin America, the ancient history, they have their own culture. They are their own principle of leading their daily life. They have their own effort to know the unknown, right? To know the unknown in that jungle. I I argue that people could have an opportunity to nurture that wisdom and live friendly with their environment. Uh, the backdrop of this colonization is that it dismantled the basic constituent, the foundation of this indigenous knowledge. And you don't have any other options just to follow So there is a conflict of indigenous knowledge and colonial legacy or interest.
Understand.
That is a big trap. So countries or education system need to navigate all this trap. Like it is very good to excel in science and technology, but at the same time, it is also good to understand the basic constituent of your indigenous
But
knowledge.
what you're saying is like they came and they destroyed the ancient institution. They imposed
Their own.
their own institutions. Okay.
Otherwise, they cannot rule you because they don't know how to rule you, and they rule you based on what they know, right?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, that leads me to another question about institutions. You know, as Mogul and Robinsons, those are my favorite. They say that development is underpinned on institutions. So why we cannot just fix them or change them? We, I mean the developing countries like Ethiopia, Ecuador.
It's not as easy as you said.
What made you change the academia to entrepreneurship now or to build your own firm? What was your main motivation? Why did you decide to leave the academy, the research?
It's not like I cannot say it is something that this is the kind of thing I usually aspire to do. I cannot say like that. I was pushed to do that.
You was pushed, yeah.
Pushed in a sense. After my PhD, I would like to work on the academia or research institutions. I just tried, but unfortunately, it was not successful. So I don't want to stay in that trap for a very long time. So I just try to figure out what I have, what I can do, and the one thing that helped me that I have a little bit of consulting experience, work experience. So I just know how the industry is operating.
Let's just improvise the finish
Yeah.
because the storage is full in the cell phone.
Do you want this one to go away?
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, let's go to the finish. We are convinced research needs to solve problems in the world. We as PhD students, we're trying to think. Sometimes we are making new problems to put solutions. Why the research, the academia, we just focus on the main big problems? Or what's happening or why we cannot solve problems like poverty, uh, these main problems in Africa and in Latin America, like the underdeveloped conditions of the people. What do you think? What's missing?
That is what we have been discussed earlier. The missing puzzle is the education sector is market oriented, not problem oriented. Of course, in the market there is a problem, that is how curriculums are designed. But problem oriented means um, in a given course, for instance, a plant science student or a horticulture student in the classroom, he is only taking lessons about the chemical composition, the soil type, the environment in which that plant is growing, how to resist the disease, something like that. He practically don't have any idea how that theory is practicable on the ground. So what we're missing is that we really do not know what is happening on the ground. If you don't know the problem, you do not solve you do not solve a problem. in the academia, what you know is what other people know about what is the problem uh, would be for certain scenarios. So you are investing your time on not the real problem, but on the problem that is created by another author. And at the end of the day, the cumulative effect will be the society living standard is not changing. People are still trapped on the under poverty. These are something that the academic institutions or the education sector as a whole need to address. For that matter, the latest research methods, for instance, in econometrics, for instance, field experiments, are coming as a result of these questions. Field experiment, random control, RCT, experimental needs, both in agriculture, industry, firms, households. Nowadays, you can see a number of papers practically focusing on the societal problem than the 10 or 20 years ago.
Okay. So it has been an improvement.
It's been improved, but still there is a long way to go.
Do you believe researchers need to be more involved in politics? Because sometimes happen that research is done, the policy advisor is done, but the policymakers doesn't look at the research. What do you think about that?
What I really think is that a scientist should be free from any party or stakeholders engagement.
Okay.
What? Because at the end of the day, the scenario would be flipped. For instance, if you are serving the interest of an institution, you cannot think beyond that institution. That's the problem, right?
But you know, the research money came from institutions,
That,
from institutions' agenda.
that is what I mean. The institution will tag his ideology on that money. So you cannot violate, you cannot surpass the governing principles of that institution. What you can better do is that you can make a free and you can build a free and transparent institution that can integrate with the political decision making process. How? Academic institutions can better partner with political institutions.
I agree with you, but that's an utopic world. It doesn't work in that way.
It should work that way.
It should, but it's an utopic world.
Yeah, that is what I'm thinking. Otherwise, you, you, you can think about a given research fund. Just let's break it down. A given research fund. Assume that that research fund is coming from the European Commission nuclear program development, something like that.
Yeah.
That budget is dedicated for you if you are a nuclear researcher, dedicated for you not to think about other problems apart from nuclear, right? That is what I mean. When the budget comes, institutional interest will also come. What you can do under this scenario is that institutions always have their own interest, but academies can be built in a free interest. So you can build a strong institutional collaboration between government agencies and these academic research institutions or research institutions, so that the opinions, the policy guidance should be free from bias.
It should be, but it's not how it works. So
What do you think we should do?
that's my question.
What
My
is
beliefs is like we need mobilization, political mobilization, like like a revolution. Once we thought we like these people, Che Guevara, Thomas Sankara, Patrick Lumumba, we like them. They were not really researchers. but the will to take the power and to change the situation is something like researchers need. That's my point, my belief.
But I highly doubt that there is no political economic system built up on sacrificing or forgiving the interest of the political party for the sake of the betterment of the world. Have you ever seen in this world a party? So that is where the disconnect is. Even on those democratic countries that we just mentioned by name, ABC, those political parties have some interest. They wish to support some institutions on research fund or something because those institutions are their proponent. So you cannot bring a kind of change if the system is operating this way. And the problem with your way, the complete revolution, it will take a village to correct the past mistake. You can see from Chad, you can see from those West African Sahel countries, they are moving on a better in a better track nowadays. The military did this coup d'etat, and the military is now serving the status co-called public interest. Of course, the previous institution was exploitative, which is affiliated to the French colonial legacy. Now the more they detach from that legacy, the more they just try to address the societal problem at the grassroots level.
Okay, so let's try to finish with a message. What the developing world needs. Where do you think is the key to start the movement to achieve like good development context? Like,
The most important thing in my experience is policy independence. Policy independence means you cannot expect poor nations to grow like China using the legacy policy. The legacy policy that is connected with the colonial powers. For instance, in West Africa, the monetary system is linked with the French monetary system. You cannot expect a rapid growth, a rapid development if you are operating on that way. What is needed is that since the global stage is very hostile, since nobody wants you to grow, you have to admit that nobody wants you to grow. Your only option is that keeping your head down and trying to solve the structural problem at the grassroots level than at the industry level, than at the macro level. And of course, these levels are feeding each other. Unless you have a good macroeconomic framework, you cannot solve the grassroots level problem. So policy independence matters. The power to enact a given policy to change your people and the ability to enforce that policy and the resource to mobilize uh, and the capacity to mobilize the resource to achieve that policy. All these things are interconnected. That's what I'm thinking. If I'm being a government or the head of a state, I would prefer that way. I don't want to sell myself to the global world. I want to keep my head down, try to solve on the basics of my country problem at the grassroots level. What is it? Is it agriculture, industry? Okay, if you have soil, if you have water, if you have good temperature, why we are not producing? We have to solve that thing at the grassroots level.
That's wonderful.
Once we do that, I think we can create a friendly environment. I don't expect the world would be a good place to live, but I can expect that everybody can make its own world where people can live a happy life.
I agree. I agree. I'm doing this series of conversations trying to understand better myself, my life. So let's finish with one deep question. From your life, what's the best life lesson you would give to anyone? Let's say you're giving it to me.
Always try to do small things at a time. Just think bigger, but always do small things. Not big things at a time, not just something that makes you exhausted. Just consistently, just do something on a daily basis and make it a habit, make it uh, what differentiates you from other people. If you are doing that, I think everybody can overcome his own limitations. Our problem is that we want to do something that is big, but we do not put enough effort. Or sometimes our effort might not be enough. The proven method that I proved from my life is that if you consistently do small things on something that you are trying to achieve, I think it will create something magnificent.
Okay, my friend. Thank you so much for this
Thank you.
time.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
It was a conversation. Well, they invite me for talking about some volunteering stuff, volunteering activities. I was part of the volunteering activities in an organization. So yeah, they say, why don't we record a podcast? But did you listen?
No.
This is so long
That
time.
time, I think that time was a fighting period. Not a fighting period. Is it that time I cried?
Even though it's so long time, you gotta be a podcast fan
Yeah.
if you like
I,
it.
I,
Do you usually listen podcast?
that's the UK guy, and the Michelle Obama. This guy, I usually listen to him.
There is one called Freakonomics. That's I recommend you.
Really, Stephen Berkeley.
Oh, I know him. He is very famous.
The Diary of CEO.
He's very famous.
The Diary of CEO. These days, I'm listening
Michelle Obama.
the Michelle Obama and her brother.
That guy is very famous guy
Yeah.
for for being like a really good journalist, like podcaster. You gotta be.
He has a big production team. So I do a good research, and
Even though you gotta has charisma.
yeah, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, so you like to the audience, and also the interviewer like you, and kind of you feel those vibes, those things.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I am aware that I lack of. So
Because you don't have time to do research, or as other.
social skills, something is not my strength, I guess, or charisma. So then I say, why not? And then we practice.
The thing is that you can learn it. It's not that much a difficult thing. Making a conversation is something that you can master. What matters most is in this scenario, you need to prepare in advance about the person that you are talking with, or there should be some team that dig a lot of history so that they will customize that history in order to make the conversation flow very smooth.
Yeah, but we're gonna talk about education, and this we're talking right now is something that are argue against the education system. Communication skills are never taught,
Yeah,
and it's something really necessary,
yeah.
right?
Communication is a must.
Not even writing properly,
Yeah.
not even talking properly, not even listening properly.
How we portray our message, it needs a huge investment. We usually portray our message based on context. For instance, as a student, you are told to remember or to rehearse some subjects in order to answer exam questions, right? So your way of communication is to respond to some set of problems, but the real world is not that like that. The real world is not an exam. The real world is a pure conversation.
And sometimes the answer you say is pure mechanically,
Yeah.
not even came from the thought. It came from somewhere where it's learned by heart, and that's it.
Communication is a sum of different things. Your habit of reading matters. Your habit of listening matters. Someone who doesn't have the social interaction, who spends his whole time with computers by justifying a reason that I am busy, trust me, he cannot be a good communicator. A good communicator should know a good vocabulary that fit the context. In this context, we cannot talk about, for instance, in this context, we cannot talk about space science because we lack knowledge on space science, or the context doesn't allow to talk about space science. That is our main problem. Even if you see your friends or yourself, you can write a thesis, but writing an article for publication is different thing. It's completely different thing.
Even sometimes reading, you don't get the
You
information
don't get,
properly
yeah,
because it's not written consistently to send the message, right?
yeah,
Sometimes it's very complicated.
yeah. Knowing the audience matters. That is what I learned when I was writing my research. Knowing what kind of audience are in this particular journal. If you know that, you can overcome almost 50% of the problem. You can communicate them.
But this we're talking now is part of the system, how education is built.
Yes.
Why we are trapped in that system.
The education doesn't have a space to accommodate all these things. The education just gives you some basic foundations. So upon that foundations, it is up to you. Some will excel it, some will use that foundation to interpret every part of their life.
So going back to what we were talking before, we were imposed that education system because of these colonial powers. How it was before? How was education in Africa like 100, 200 years ago?
Education was a wisdom. It is a wisdom that transcends through generations.
And by oral,
All right.
right?
Still, there are some parts of Africa, even Ethiopia, that communication is only by oral interaction. For instance, an enemy who is far away, like 300 kilometers, without any transportation, without any telephone service, without any mode of modern communication method, there is a people called Afar. The people who is residing far, 300 kilometers far away the enemy territory, they know that the enemy is there.
So why we are trapped in the system and we cannot mix what you're saying with the new system?
We cannot, currently we cannot, because uh, you know, everything has a standard, right? Everything has a standard.
Okay.
And the standard is set by those who lead the science, academics, research, right?
Okay.
Your only choice is just to, for instance, Let's talk about AI. How can you set another standard on AI rather than competing on this fast growing AI evolution? The only option you have is that you have to compete with the global standard. At the same time, you can try to embed your local knowledge within the system.
Okay, so you're telling me we are trapped in the system because of the globalization, well, no, like the universal language of education standards that the
Absolutely.
education need to.
Absolutely.
Okay,
It is what people perceive is good.
but then it is a monopoly,
Yeah.
and that happened in research also. And that's something I want to like dive deep into. Let's see if it's recording properly. I felt you so competitive in the language class. Like there was some competitions of some kind of games, some questions, something like that.
No, because one, if you are attending, you need to at least make your teachers happy.
That teacher was very rough.
Yeah, a little bit.
That teacher was very rough.